Okay. So my name is Elizabeth Bogmill, and I'm from CSU Northridge. And today I'll be presenting on For Time and Eternity, Mormon Mommy Bloggers and the Creation of Family History Through Storytelling. So an outline of my presentation, first I'll give you a bit of background, then I'll locate myself and discuss ethics behind the research. I'll provide my research question, the research design, and then I will uncover the 4 themes that I found. So a bit of background. The Mormon religion has a strong emphasis on journaling and keeping personal family history. That leads into the fact that blogs are a modern form of narrative personal experience. So a lot of mothers will choose to document their family history through family blogs. And this is just transitioning from the private journaling into the public journaling on a family blog that is accessible via the internet. So that intimate discourse of private life facilitates the interconnectedness and social networks of shared norms, values, and ideologies. When other mothers in this community and family members read each other's blogs, they're able to share the norms and the values that are reaffirmed through their stories and through their life events that have occurred. Furthermore, the Mormon mommy blogs are family narratives, and a root function of the narrative is world creation. That is, the reconstruction of the worlds evoked through storytelling and interpretation of the stories. So they're not only telling their own stories, but they're also, through the act of storytelling, creating what they want the reader to perceive as their story and what they want to be remembered as their story. And just before I cover additional background, the Mormon religion is super strong on journaling because of this sense of family history and the idea of maintaining family history. So that's why it's so prominent to have Mormon mother bloggers in the community. So for locating myself, I am not Mormon. I am not a mother. I have a strong oral history within my family and extended family, and I am an attempted blogger. I am Catholic. My family by marriage is Mormon. My husband's family is Mormon, although he no longer is. I've been interested in religion, and it's been a continued interest of mine, so I have a good body of knowledge on the Mormon community and the religion as a whole. And then I've also attempted blogging on my own, and then I kind of adapted it to the reflexive process of locating myself within this research. So a bit about ethics. There's some ethical concerns with using public blogs. First of all, using the public family blogs without express permission of the blog owners. So the logic behind using these blogs was that if I could locate the blog on Google, it is considered public. It doesn't have any sort of password protection, and therefore it's open to the public, just like any common website would be. So that's why I was able to justify it being okay to utilize these blogs, because they were public. There was one of the blogs that did have a statement on the bottom saying if you want to utilize any of the information in this blog, please contact me first. They didn't provide any contact information though, so I tried to go about getting in touch and it just fell flat. So rather than getting permission from each of the bloggers, I've used pseudonyms to protect their privacy, and I didn't use any identifiers. So along with the pseudonyms, I will discuss the mother, and I won't identify the children, and I'll give you a small little profile of family, but not enough to locate them. Furthermore, properly representing and respecting bloggers' career, path, and religious beliefs was also important and an ethical concern when doing this research. Because I'm not of the same religion, I had to be very respectful of their religious identities, and then also because I'm not a mother and I haven't made the choice to be a stay-at-home mom, which these 2 mothers did, I need to be respectful of their career choice, which they viewed being a stay-at-home mother as a career choice. So my research question: what are the common themes in documenting a family legend through storytelling within 2 Mormon mommy blogs? I only utilized 2 blogs because I took a whole year time frame. So the blog entries measure from March 2013 to March 2014. And let's see, from the first blog, which is Life in the Desert, I pulled 43 entries, and from the second blog, it was 28 entries, so it was pretty extensive. The purpose of the research was ethnographic and phenomenological. It was a pilot study, so I could go further into this if I wanted. The sample size was Life in the Desert, which is a pseudonym. This individual has a husband, 5 children. They range from ages 7 to 17 years old. So this is a not later in life, but more established family. They're done having children, and their children are starting to grow and to leave the house. The second blog is Life in the City, and this individual has 2 children and a husband. The children are 3 years old and a few months old, so she's just starting to establish her family and to grow. The method of analysis was document analysis, and there was also letter triangulation going on, so 4 read-throughs, peer review, comparison to literature, and also the reflexive process, which was important. As for the themes, the first theme that was uncovered was humanizing time. So the narrative of a blog takes duration that is inherently without order and imposes sequential and predictable order of tick-tock, aka habitable time. And what I mean by habitable time is time that organizes life. And there are 3 themes of habitable time that I found. Earthly versus eternal time. I'll explain these, they'll make more sense, I promise. Yearly markers and day-to-day events. So concerning earthly versus eternal time, in the Mormon religion, there is a belief that your family stays together as long as they're sealed when everybody dies and moves on to heaven. So you're not just a family on earth, but you're a family in heaven as well. So that's what this concept is. On September 28th, 2013, Life in the City states, on the front of the box, it was a box that her husband had carved for her birthday. It says, for time and eternity. As Mormons, we know and believe that our family can be together forever. In about 3 days, I will celebrate 3 years since we went to the temple together and had our sealing. This is a special ceremony that takes place within the temple, in which a husband, wife, and their children are sealed for time and eternity. On that day, we will be sealed, and therefore believe that we are forever family, and that death can never tear us apart. Because we will be sealed, I don't have to wonder what will happen to me and my family after this life when I'm gone. I take great comfort in knowing that no matter what happens here, I will be with him and my children forever, and we will see each other again. He's mine for eternity, and there's no greater knowledge or comfort than that. So that's illustrating earthly versus eternal. Next, we have yearly markers, and these are just habits that occur within the year of the blogging family. Typically, there's birthdays, holidays, but you also have the biannual general conference, and since this is from a Mormon perspective, I utilize that as a yearly marker. The general conference is where the individuals don't attend church, they watch instead on television. Speakers from their church talk about key ideas and things that are going on in their community. And that happens twice a year. So everybody stays home. Usually there's a big tradition surrounding that. People make special cinnamon rolls, or sometimes everybody will just wear pajamas all day. It's a big deal. And then we also have day-to-day events. So on February 8th, 2014, Life in the Desert says, reading scriptures together as a family and having our family prayer are really important to me. So that part of our life is unchanging schedule every week, every day. We prioritize family home evening. So we make sure to hold it on Sundays when life isn't quite so crazy. And then if we don't get to the activity we want to do on Monday night, at least we have our family business and have gathered together as a family formally just to be together in the eye of the storm. And what she means by the eye of the storm, it's frequently utilized by this blogger. The craziness of life is almost like a hurricane, and they feel like family home evening is the calm spot in the middle of the hurricane. So it's a time to come together and be calm together. And that's a day-to-day event marker. Theme 2 is the idea of teaching people who they are. Narrative habitus, a collection of stories which a life is informed and continues to shape lives, is created through blogging. There were different ways to view this. I focused on the mother's narrative habitus. She was the individual who was actually writing the blog, so it was easier to focus in on her reflections. So there's 3 concepts here. Life as a mother was most prominent, then personal interest, and then values were also reflected. For Life as a Mother, Life in the City says on May 3rd, I truly believe that even though we, as mothers, are different points in our lives, and we all have different children at different points in their lives, as no one has the same situation as someone else, there will come a day, if it hasn't come already, and whether it be in this life or the next, that we will get to see, and we will finally realize, even more so, just how amazingly important and meaningful our roles are as mothers. So she is trying to portray her thoughts of importance as being a mother to others and to spread this. And this is one of the themes particularly for life in the city and life in the desert. They are very focused on mothering since they have such big families and are growing their families. Some other Mormon mother blogs are focused specifically on religion, but these are the focus of these blogs. Furthermore, personal interest. To illustrate that, with concerns to running a half marathon, Life in the City states on May 9th. Life in the City is the one with the 2 small children. I love the way I feel when I do these things, and I do it not just for me, but even more for my husband and little girl. I know you can't predict the different things that can happen to your health or your body, but there are some things that you can try to control and take charge of. I know not everyone is able to, and may suffer with illness and disabilities beyond their control, but they truly inspire me when they still fight on. I'm grateful to even have the opportunity to do these things with my body, and that I even have the capability of doing them. It's inspiring to see those who do what they can with what they have and are grateful in the process. I know that I can do better at trying harder, complaining less, and being more grateful. So she utilizes the idea of running this marathon to reaffirm her whole perspective on life, which is to be more grateful, and it all stems from her personal interest. And then next we have values, which kind of relates to the above too as well. When discussing the value of taking time to read the Book of Mormon, Life in the Desert says on April 16th, when I was a teenager, I did just what it said. I read the book from cover to cover. It took a long time. And when I was done, I knelt down by my bed and poured my heart out to God to know if it was really true. I'm grateful for that experience because, as with any religion, there are lots of things required that require faith to believe. So just a little background, the Book of Mormon is an additional book, according to the Mormon religion, that was founded by Joseph Smith, and it's almost like an accompaniment to the Bible, so it's their second religious book. The third theme is default guidance systems, and this can be seen in almost all of the writing, as you've seen with the illustrations that I've provided. The default guidance system, or the Mormon religion, appears subtly in blog entries and can be seen in the narrative habitus as a central guiding mechanism of life. So just by the illustrations of the personalized interest, when Life in the City was discussing running half marathons, she manages still to integrate this guidance system of being grateful and attributes of her religion into just everyday activities. There's 2 ways that you can do this. So the default guidance system is represented through morality tales, which I don't have an illustration of. That's usually tales that they tell their children to try to reaffirm their family history and proper way of behaving according to the guidance system. And then building blocks of everyday life. So that's just the everyday life, the way they're able to integrate the guidance system. So Life in the City on August 24th describes how integrated her religion is to her family's everyday life. Family Home Evening is a very special program encouraged by our church. It's a night set aside, usually Monday nights, every weekend for us to get together as a family, learn, and spend some quality time. It may seem like, what about just going to dinner or watching TV together? But I love Family Home Evening because it makes family time more than just doing that. Some of our happiest moments are as a family have been when we hold Family Home Evening, even though it may not always go as perfectly, and I keep it consistent to make sure we do it every week, no matter what, and no matter how busy we get. We always have held Family Home Evening, even since we got married, and throughout having our daughter. I think Lily and our future children will learn a lot from having the special time set aside every week. I love Family Home Evening and have a real testimony of it. It truly strengthens families and has definitely strengthened ours. So they're able to weave in the default guidance system to their building blocks of everyday life through blog entries and describing how their life is shaped by the religious components. And then the 4th theme is connecting people. So the stories or blog entries have the ability to call individuals into groups and can call in groups to assert common identities. And the common identities that I was able to parse out were the family, the extended family, and the friends, society, and religion. So friends, society, and religion is just basically everything beyond your family and the extended family. And extended family is its own category because of the idea that families are everlasting and they'll continue on in heaven, so there is a super close bond with extended family members. On September 16th, Life in the Desert had just purchased a home, and before it was completely remodeled, she had her family write things on it that meant a lot to them. On the walls, before it was, they put up the particle board, on the beams and everything, they were writing statements. Family mottos, Bibles, Book of Mormon excerpts, and descriptions of the love that they had for each other. This is illustrating family. That mother watched, and as her family wrote things from their hearts to become the core of their home, her heart swelled and her eyes welled. She hoped that she would she hoped that they would all think of those things that they wrote so often when their future selves were walking through the halls and living in those rooms. And she hoped that they would remember that words are powerful. They can be just as much of a foundation for a home as beams and concrete are. So, like I said, they had written these important words onto the beams and concrete, and then they had refinished the house, so it was almost like they were building in their family history into the house, and their religious background and the storytelling that they were trying to establish into the house. Furthermore, we have extended family. So Life in the Desert describes their family reunion photo experiences on August 28th. We do family pictures every reunion, and this year we decided to do them at the lake again. The only trouble is that right as soon as we got ready and headed down there, a huge wind came up, but we knew we weren't going to get 45 people ready again any other time, so we went for it anyway. So this is establishing the family history and storytelling through the common identity of the extended family. Everybody went through that experience in their extended family. Everybody was able to connect to that experience. 45 individuals, that's quite a large family. I believe they have 9 or 11 children. So Life in the City's parents have 9 or 11 children. And this was the reunion that they were talking about. And then next we have friends, society, and religion. So the broader whole, beyond the family. Okay, so Life in the Desert writes about the local Mormon families walking from their churches to the temple that was being built on March 18th. And the temple is, it's not like a church, it's almost like a shrine or an even more sacred place than a church or it's a more sacred place. And they do their sacred rituals there, they have ceilings there, and after it is established, the only people that are allowed to go in it are people in good standing in the Mormon religion. So, along with a lot of other festivities, temple walks of all sorts were planned. As the valley of excited people watched it rise from the dust, they wanted to show their gratitude any way they could for what a blessing that thing would be in their lives, and in the lives of their children, and in the lives of their children's children. Hordes of wonder-filled families walked to that beautiful temple that day to be close to it, to show respect for it, to be grateful for it. So they're continuing this storytelling through the creation of the legend by discussing the process of going to the temple and the temple being built. And everybody in the community, the Mormon community, is tied to it because they've all participated in these festivities involving the temple building. So it's creating that sense of community. And just a thank you to all the people who helped with this. Thank you.
So we have about 10 minutes left for questions. Does anyone have any for those activities?
I have one for Michael. You mentioned very early that depression is correlated with sign language. And Northridge is committed to sign language. Is this a conflict, or does it mean maybe other things will start getting better, maybe ear surgery or better hearing aids or something?
Well, I think what it really means is early, and Neil's probably better at answering this than me, but early intervention with signing for children. I think what that really means is that the earlier children learn to sign and that it's defined as normative and accepted and part of the culture around them, the better it is for lowering depression. For those that don't sign, high levels of depression exist. So I don't know, at the college level, it might be almost kind of too late. It's really in early life that we would want to.
So in other words, it would still, even with your finding showing maybe you have depression, it's still looked at as one of the better ways to handle being, I guess, very ill.
Yeah. I mean, my naivety going into this project about deafness was kind of embarrassing, really. That I just figured, you're either deaf or you're not, and that all deaf people sign language. I mean, it's not true at all. It's actually much more various. But all these things kind of matter. It's if you're raised as a deaf child that is trying to be kind of made into a hearing child in terms of experience, that usually is no good in terms of depression. It's more acceptance of the fact that the child has unique capacities and kind of a celebration like that, enriching through language, through sign language.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that lip reading is better.
Danielle, what do you think? She's better at this or not?
In terms of like lip reading, hearing aids, both of their implants, the issue with those is that they're not 100% success rate despite what a lot of media would have you believe. And the other issue with that, even with lip reading, the accuracy is 30%. So hearing aids is like 50 to 60%, with both leaders is even less. They don't really release numbers on that one. But when you just want to look at our hearing aids, start treating them like a hearing person, unless the deaf person on the hearing aids is looking at you, you might be able to lip read the hearing aids a little bit and maybe kind of get the gist of what you're saying. But at the end of the day, they're not a hearing person, they're a deaf person that has their own needs, as well as like in terms of identity, a deaf identity is easy to meet because they are a deaf person. So sign language would be more successful in terms of verifying the identity and not having depression, so long as a society, we kind of going to accept that about their community and their culture.
Yeah, the unique part of the deaf community, they don't define deafness as a disability, which I was kind of taken back, but now that I understand a little better, I see it. Because of language, it's a unique culture in itself, and it's not a disability in their lives.
I have a question for Michael Hibachi. You said the identity was ego, social, personal. Do you feel that the age ranges in which you interviewed the people affected their social, ego, personal? Because you had people varying from ages up to 53, 38. Do you feel that had any effect on how they answered your questions?
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. The folks who were at the younger age spectrum, part of the spectrum, certainly had fresh perspectives on, how to view race and stuff like that. They weren't as jaded as the folks who were, had been through a lot more and had been through incarceration more times than them and had seen life, be rougher towards them. So I think, yeah, you see a trend in the younger participants being a little more optimistic about the future, whereas at the latter end of the spectrum, they're more realistic and practical because of what they've seen life do to them.
So do you think that it could be more of a generational effect on homelessness?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly generational and situational. I mean, just because there was that trend at the younger age spectrums, I think somebody who's 38 might have gone through a lot.